You can't get to certain places without a car. And these countries are beautiful. Bosnia is absolutely stunning. Like some of it just reminds me of being in Thailand.
This episode of Grounded in Maine is sponsored by ESG Review. ESG Review magazine is published quarterly in February, May, August, and November, and is available for free in print and digital formats. ESG Review is devoted to environmental, social, and governance strategies, technologies, and investments. ESGreview.net is updated every Wednesday with 8 new stories and is home to feature articles, news items, and more. Visit esgreview.net to stay informed and help us spark the collaboration and awareness needed to develop sustainable economies and communities around the world.
There's a place where there's no trouble, no more pain, no more struggle.
Grounded in Maine podcast is an open conversation about how we show up for the world. I started this podcast out of a desire to learn new ways to be sustainable because the word sustainability is big. It can be overwhelming, and I just wanted to learn, different ways to try to be part of the solution and not feel like it's too late. So I am talking to people who are doing different things and learning so much. I hope that you are too.
Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy Fagan. My guest today is Hayley Knight, and she will be speaking to us from Brazil because that's where she's staying right now. Hayley is traveling the world with her husband, and she has a PR firm, and they are working on the road. And she just has some really great stories, and they work with really super cool people, and I just really, really like her. I started following her on Instagram, and we just have had quite the back and forth in conversation, and I love so much that wherever they end up, they have literally piles of cats that they end up like snuggling and taking care of, and that just, it says so much to me about who they are as people. But there's so much more to them than just the cats too, but I'm gonna let her tell you about that. Anyway, she is fascinating, and I just can't say enough about her, but I will let her do that. Anyway, if you love this podcast, please feel free to rate and review it wherever you're listening. Share it with somebody that you think would love it. If you don't love it, please let me know, because I want to make sure to be providing value to you. And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, also let me know, because I would love to chat sustainability with you. But I appreciate you listening to the podcast, and I hope that you'll stick around and listen to Hayley's story. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great week. My guest today is Hayley Knight. Hayley is a traveling fool. She is right now visiting us from Brazil, and she is co-founder, co-founder of Be Yellow. And so, Hayley, thank you so much for joining me today. Broken laptop on your cell phone and everything. I'm so glad to have you here and to finally meet you face to face. How are you
Yes, I'm
today?
really happy to be here. I'm good. A little stressed. I'm having a stressful week with a broken laptop and trying to work, but I'm good. I'm really happy to be here.
So tell us about Be Yellow.
So Be Yellow is I run with my husband, Marcus, a PR marketing agency. So I manage the PR side and he manages the marketing side. And we are a PR marketing agency for socially responsible businesses. So we work with businesses that are basically doing good in the world. So we work with a woman that she's a menopause coach, and she's a corporate trainer, and she works with businesses to make them more menopause friendly. We work with a sustainable fashion expert. So that type of client. We work with vegan brands. and we work with a woman that's trying to encourage more women into the property industry. So basically, like people that are doing great things and companies that are doing great things.
That's so cool. Yay. I mean, that totally fits into if you've been paying attention, so I just had, this will be a couple of weeks in, but I just had Mara Menniken, who has a sustainable chocolate business. And
yes, I saw that.
one of the things that she, one of the things that she was really passionate about is social sustainability. And so she hires people who are like neurodivergent, people that would have a hard time finding jobs otherwise. A lot of her employees are like autistic, and they are super meticulous.
Amazing.
And so like packaging the chocolate, it takes them a little bit longer, but these people would have a hard time finding jobs. And, people are they're so sticky on like speed and stuff. And, it's just so important to
Yes.
give people that purpose and that fulfillment.
And the opportunities as well. We've just started working with a dating app actually called Matter, who is specifically for neurodivergent individuals to connect.
Awesome.
And I've done a lot of work with autism in the past, and I have autism in the family, and so it's very close to my heart. But yeah, I know exactly that is that people are so. We still look at people as statistics sometimes rather than humans, and it's like I had like a phase, and I'm sure it's not owned by me, but it's like we have to look at people as human beings and not human doings.
100%.
And like some of these people, like people with autism, people that are on the spectrum, people with disabilities, is that they're so, some of them are so talented and so skilled, and I always feel that businesses that overlook them are overlooking key talent for their business and business growth. 100%.
Yeah. And then I had just this week Sonia Parenti, Miss Love Terra, the sustainable fashion lady, who I've been, oh my gosh, for so long, so excited. But so you've got the sustainable fashion person and the social, you're doing the social sustainability. That's so cool. It's like right in line. And the menopause
It's super
lady.
important to me. It's super important to me as well. Like I've been in PR for 10 plus years now, and I started out in fashion. I've done the superficial side of things, and I'm a storyteller at heart as well. So I want to support people doing great things, and I want to share their stories. That's predominantly why I do PR.
Cool. And so you wanted to talk about world travel as well as activism and supporting
All of it.
socially sustainable businesses. But you are traveling the world.
Yes.
Yes.
I have been for almost, it'll be 3 years in September.
3 years. Wow.
Non-stop.
Nonstop. Because you're from London or the UK, and you're
From
from
London,
London. Yeah. And now you're in Brazil, but you said that you've been in Sri Lanka and you've been in
so
Ecuador.
we've been covered a lot of ground in 2.5 years. So we've done. I'm just trying to think of the tracks. So we've done a lot of Europe. We've done all the Balkans. So Croatia, Montenegro, Slovenia. I think the only countries we haven't done are Kosovo and North Macedonia. We've done Slovenia, Montenegro, Serbia, Croatia, Bosnia, and then we've done Albania, Greece, Bulgaria, Turkey, Sri Lanka. We've done most of South America now. So we've done Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, and Bolivia. We've done Costa Rica and Central America. We've done America. We've done Florida, and I'm sure I'm missing some countries, but that's it. That covers most of it, I think.
Now, is it a goal to hit like all the world, or is it just like,
Yeah, so I'd love to. So we did Antarctica or the Patagonia when we were in Chile, and that was incredible. My goal is to do all the continents. I'd love to get to Africa, and go to some of the African countries in Tanzania, Cape Town, Kenya. and that's definitely on my list. I'd love to do more of North America, to be honest, and do the national parks. I'd love to do the PCT, the Pacific Crest Trail, and that would be for a hike. That would be a dream, but I am nowhere near fit enough to even attempt that. And I've read the book Wild. I know what happens. And but yeah, I'd love to do it. I've done most of Europe now, I would say. I've done most of Europe and South America. I'd love to do more Central America, Venezuela, Guatemala, Honduras, those countries. I'd love to do that. Done Mexico or some of Mexico. But yeah, it's like there's so much. There's so much. And I think when we started traveling, we were traveling quite quickly. So we weren't working, so we didn't have to stay in one place for too long.
Right.
We didn't have to worry about things like internet issues and things like that. So we were sort of spending 3-4 days to a week in each place. I know that's fun. It's incredibly chaotic, and you don't see so much. You're very limited to what you can do. So we travel a lot slower now. We spend sort of like minimum of a month in places and really get to know it, meet the locals, see it from a local perspective. And that's my favorite part of traveling. Like, I don't like doing the touristy things. I just love seeing it from the local perspective, meeting the locals.
Right. What's it? Yeah. What's your asking them like where would you eat, or what's your favorite place, or why would someone move here, or something like that?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So we've met a couple here in Rio, and they messaged us yesterday, and they're like, "Oh, we've hired a car. Let's like drive you around. We'll take you to the local places where the local people go."
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, it seems like the Balkans, I'm trying to think, they don't look very big from the maps.
So the one thing I love about Europe, and I always take it for granted, and I sort of always realize how lucky I am whenever I come to the Americas, especially, is like how convenient everything is in Europe to get to places. Like in the Balkans, like a 2-hour drive, you're in a different country. It's like, and they are relatively small countries, and the issue is you can't really do them without a car. Croatia is a bit more set up for tourists, but in places like Bosnia and Serbia, sorry, you can't do it without a car. You can't get to certain places without a car, and these countries are beautiful. Bosnia is absolutely stunning. Like, some of it just reminds me of being in Thailand. And it has so much nature and so much green and mountains, but like there's no real bus system in place. And so you can't just sort of jump on a bus and go to a different place. It's like America, really. Like, have to drive everywhere. But that's sort of one thing I love about Europe, is it is literally you drive a 2-hour drive in a different country. 2-hour drive in America, you're still in the same state. Sometimes the same city.
Yeah. For sure.
So it's like that's what I love. But and this was like saying, it's like in South America, especially, if someone tells you that it's just outside of somewhere, it's not just outside of somewhere. It's like 14 hours down the road. And so we went to a place called Cerro Grande in Brazil, and they were like, "Yeah, it's just outside of Salvador. You'll be fine." And it was like one flight, one ferry, 2 buses to get there. It was mad, but
no problem.
Yeah, it's like in like Cartagena in Colombia, and it was like right next to Santa Marta, and they were like, "Oh, it's right next to each other. We'll just get like a private car, like boot car hire there," and it's like 7-hour drive.
They're right next door. Oh my gosh.
So it's definitely something you take for granted, especially when in the UK, with the UK being very, very small. I think it takes the same amount of time to drive across the UK than it does Texas.
Tell me about Slovenia.
Slovenia is amazing. So Slovenia is one of the more expensive Balkan countries because it's built for tourism, and it's not as touristic as Croatia. Croatia is ridiculously expensive now. We went there in September, and I was shocked. I was shocked at how expensive it is there now. Slovenia is sort of like in the between country where it's still affordable, but not cheaper than the rest of the Balkans. Like Bosnia and Serbia, so cheap, unbelievably cheap. Montenegro is still cheap, but Montenegro is pushing towards tourism. Bosnia and Serbia are not.
Okay.
But Slovenia is definitely like it's 100% worth going to. Like it's so beautiful. The people are so friendly. Um, there's so much like so many different landscapes, and it depends. Like there's something for everyone. And Ljubljana, the capital, is just so much fun. It's such a fun city. It's we sort of like inadvertently ended up at this rave in Ljubljana. We were told, oh, you need to go to these like I can't remember what they were like metal heads or something, and they were like, yeah, it's like fine. There's like bars there and stuff, and it just turned out to be this abandoned warehouse that had been taken over for like raves, and it was so much fun. We met so many people, and like super LGBT friendly, and which is what I love. Like I just love those spaces, and so but that was a lot of fun. And then like you drive sort of like an hour and a half out of the city, and you're like the most beautiful waterfalls and mountains and fields and parks. It's there's so much to do there.
Yeah. Were you saying Bosnia was the most beautiful place you've ever seen?
Bosnia
One of
in
them?
the most beautiful Balkan country for sure. Like Bosnia is so like under so overlooked as a destination. It's still recovering from the war. But there's so much history there, and so much. It's quite an intense country, but it's so beautiful. It's like they are like you'll be driving and you'll come across a mountain range and like it just reminds me of Thailand.
Mm.
And we went to these waterfalls. It's Una National Park, and it was just another world, absolutely another world. You would never have thought that you were in the middle of Europe. It's just stunning, and like it's so cheap, and so many cats.
I Yeah, I was just thinking I needed to bring that up. So one of the things that I've been following Hayley for quite a while on Instagram, and one of my favorite things is that everywhere they go, they're like cat magnets. They have these like piles, not just like a cat that follows them. There are like piles of cats that they feed and care for.
This is very true. So when we were staying in Bosnia, we were in Sarajevo, the capital, and we had this apartment, and there was lots of like stray cats around, and we were there for 2 months. So we were like, we have enough time to actually look after these cats. And there was one cat there, we called her Maple. She was a black and white cat. When we got there, we thought she was dying. Like she was so ill. She wasn't eating. She looked like she'd had a car accident. She couldn't walk properly. So we took her to the vets, and it just turned out she had like a massive cyst on the side of her head. So they drained it and we gave her fluids, gave vaccinations. She was quite a young cat. I think she was like 2 or 3. And she was just like within a week, a different cat. She was playful, she was loving, she was happy, she was eating, she was really healthy. So when we left her, she was a healthier cat. We got another cat neutered. We There was kittens there. We rescued a kitten that was abandoned on the side of the road, and we managed to find him a home by the time that we left, which was amazing. I wanted to keep him as a travel cat. Picking up.
She heard us talking cats.
But yeah, so we called him Nomad. But the one of the neighbors took him in and was going to find a home for him and ended up keeping him himself. So it was really nice. But yeah, that's why we love Turkey so much, because it's just full of stray cats. They're just everywhere. And so, but yeah, we definitely. I don't know whether it's the cats seek us out or we seek them out, but something is happening.
Right? Yeah, it's either somebody is a magnet, like whether it's the cats and you guys just can't help yourselves, or you have the magnets and they can't. Yeah, one or the other, but you guys you seem to find each other one way or the other. I feel like I heard something, maybe it's Turkey, that they have like, is there like a an area where they just like all the cats just like sprawl out on the, maybe it's Turkey, but maybe it's some like Middle
There's a place
Eastern.
in Antalya, which is just by the sort of like by the water, I guess. But there's like an area, and they're everywhere. There's hundreds of them. And there's a big cat house that someone has bought, and built and looks after them. The thing in Turkey is they really respect their cats. Excuse me, sorry. Drink. Sorry. So in Turkey, they really respect their cats. So the cats are incredibly well looked after, the street cats. There's a story that they have from Islam, is that Muhammad was supposed to go and give a speech, and his cat was laying on the arm of his gown, and he cut the sleeve off because he didn't want to wake the cat. And so there's a huge respect for cats because they're so influenced to the religion. But you don't really find that in other Islamic countries. So in Bosnia, for example, they don't really have respect for cats, and they're not as well looked after in Turkey. But yeah, in like Istanbul, for example, is like obviously like Istanbul cats. There's a page for it. There's videos. There's a film. It's like they're everywhere. I saw a video the other day of a cat just sitting on the bonnet of a car as the car was driving around Istanbul. And there's a cat buried in Istanbul. There's a cat, and he was an influencer cat. He had like 1 million followers. And there's a big mosque in Istanbul called the Hagia Sophia. And the cat used to sit outside there. And when he died, he got buried in a mosque. He's the only cat in the world to ever be buried in a mosque. Oh. They have like huge respect for street cats there. They really do look after them.
That's so perfect. Oh my gosh. So okay, we were talking about this earlier, but before we were officially talking for podcasting, but so I just wanted to sort of touch on this, that you guys started traveling because you had a business, but you ended up with burnout. But so it was like you just had to get away, so you just escaped and started traveling, but you discovered that you really enjoyed it. And so it's not the same. What am I trying to say? Is this the same trip? Is this the same trip, or did you guys
basically? So yeah, it's kind of just been ongoing. We've been back to the UK a few times, usually between sort of Europe and then going outside of Europe. So we came back we'd done a European trip, and we came back in October after Croatia, and we were going to Florida in October. So we came back to sort of change all our things up, unpack, refresh, things like that. But we've been out since the beginning of October now, and we will be now until I think we go back in March, and then Marcus is on a retreat in Portugal in April, and then I'm going to see some friends in Spain, and then we'll sort of meet back again in June in Turkey, and then the idea then is like we probably won't come back to the UK for a while.
Okay.
We want to try and get to Southeast Asia, but because of the time difference, I think it's 7-hour time difference at the moment with the new business, it's just not possible. You need to be in like a stronger position with the business to be able to do that. So that's maybe a next year thing. I think we may either come back this way or do more of Europe, but I have no idea. We sort of try and plan as much in advance as we can, but we also like to be a bit spontaneous as well.
Okay. But so you've been traveling for, you said 3.5 years?
2.5 years.
2.5
3 years in September.
Okay. All right. And so you've been really busy. But so, and you're traveling mostly backpacking? Like, I mean, you're doing cars.
Yeah. So we're mostly backpacking. We have a suitcase, which I begrudge a lot because it just technically need it. Yeah. But it's just like the thing is that the more baggage you have, just the more crap that you end up carrying around. And we're like, I feel like I've mastered the art of packing light, even though I do look at my wardrobe sometimes and I'm like, there's so much here that I really don't need, and I'm still like trying to work on that. But with the suitcases, like you just find yourself like you're more likely to buy new clothes and things like that because you're like, oh, I have the room for it. So I like not having, it sounds really stupid, but I like not having that luxury. Like I'm not a big buyer anyway. Like I've the same clothes for years. I really, really buy clothes when I desperately need them. Like to the point I had this skirt and I had it for like 5 years, probably longer. And I bought it in London and it was the perfect travel skirt. It was amazing. And it literally was to the point where there were like holes in it. There were stains. The zip was broken. I was still wearing it. And, and I eventually got to the point where the zip was so broken, I put it on one day and I literally could not get it off and I had to cut myself out of it. And even then I was like, oh, I can sew it up. And Master was like, just throw it away. It's done.
I guess it's telling you, yeah, just saying.
It's
please.
just like, and I like to feel comfortable when I travel. I like to have comfortable clothes, and I'm not like, I don't want to be carrying around like dressy up clothes and things like that. So I like to have like a couple of nice dresses, and then, but like what I'm really enjoying is I'm starting to develop a wardrobe. When people are asking me, instead of being that like, oh, this shop in London, this shop in London, I'm like, I got that in Brazil, I got that in Costa Rica, I got that in Croatia. That's really nice. That's like there's like stories behind my clothes now, and that's really nice.
That's really fun. So yeah, I mean, you don't really have to pack any. You can start with almost nothing in your case and
Exactly.
just pick something up everywhere you go.
The only thing I make sure I have plenty of is underwear, because trying to buy underwear in certain countries when you're traveling is a nightmare.
For sure.
And so I always, whenever I go back, I just buy like new packs of underwear because they're the one thing that I always know that I'm like obviously always need, but never like I'm never going to be able to find them.
Right. Yeah. And that, I mean, it's hard to buy them to begin with. Like they never quite fit right. You know,
No.
Too small, too big, like
Yeah.
too.
And so
yeah.
I know what I need. I know what I buy.
Exactly.
The one current consistency in my life.
Just get them where you know you can get them. And so you had told me before we started talking on the actual podcast also that you have backpacking insurance, which kind of blew my mind a little bit. I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, it makes sense because you can get like motorcycle insurance or trip insurance or whatever. So it's like trip insurance, basically, I assume.
Yeah, so the general sort of normal insurance is sort of, I think it's a maximum of either 60 or 90, 60 days, I think, that you can be insured. We have insurance with Amex, American Express, that gives us 90 days. So we could travel for 3 months at a time, would have to go back to the UK and then start again, which is why we were coming back every like 3 months at the beginning of our trip. But we were like, got to the point where we were like, this is fine for Europe because you can just buy cheap flights to and from. But you can't really anymore. European flights right now are ridiculous. But it's fine. But like we want obviously come further afield. I'm like, I'm not traveling all the way to South America to come back every 3 months. It's ridiculous. It doesn't work. And so we looked into backpackers insurance. There's only a couple of companies out there, and I think the two biggest ones are World Nomads, which is what we have, and Safety Wings, which I'm not sure now, but when we were looking into it, they only catered for people in America. So we couldn't get them. We can get it. So we got World Nomads. And it covers you. So you put in where you're going and the length of your trip, what you're doing. So we sort of, when we did our 6 months in South America, we put that in and we had to get like added hiker insurance because we were hiking Machu Picchu. And so it's quite expensive. It's like a big additional extra cost for travel, but I think we paid like, I think it was like £1,700 for the trip for 6 months, but it covers everything that you like COVID cover, which is probably, I think it's one of the only insurance companies now that covers COVID related issues.
Oh, interesting.
It covers medical luggage, like laptops, everything like that, like health, it covers everything. So it's really helpful. The customer service is, I think, can be quite a standard insurance company, I guess. But we were supposed to hike Machu Picchu and we ended up in January last year during the protests, and they closed down the government closed down Machu Picchu. Like there was no tours or anything, and we'd already booked and paid for our tour, so we were emailing the insurance company, and they were like, we don't cover change of mind. And I was like, well, it's not change of mind. We literally can't go. They shut it down. And they're like, well, you could do it another time. You could do it when they open. And I'm like, we're in Peru for like 4 weeks. It's not going to open, and we're not coming back. So that was a bit funny, but luckily the tour company gave us our money back. But we had our phone stolen in Brazil, and they covered it, no problem. So it's standard insurance company really. Like if they can find a reason not to insure you, they'll run with it. But it's definitely, obviously, like insurance is always worth having, no matter what. But yeah, it's an additional expenses for backpacking. It does get quite expensive.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you wanted to talk about traveling the world. You wanted to talk about activism. And I mean, you talked about your business and supporting social, like socially sustainable businesses.
Yeah.
Businesses
So
that you
businesses with social values. So
yeah.
we work, as I said, we work with businesses with a purpose is probably the best way to put it.
So what's next? I guess what's next for you?
So this year is a little different. Marcus and I are doing some solo travel, taking sort of our own space a little bit. I think it could be really difficult. It is difficult. But we're not only are we married, we work together, we travel together, we're like constantly in each other's pockets. So it's like space is so healthy, and like we both, each of us, value our own space. So we're going to have our own sort of separate experiences for a couple of months in the summer, just to give each other some breathing space and doing things. And Marcus is going to retreat in Portugal. I'm going to see some friends in Spain, and then we'll sort of circle back around in sort of June time in Turkey. But it's just growing the business, really, scaling the business as much as possible at a sustainable rate. We think we still have to remember that we're still a startup, we're only 6 months old, but we have already hired our first full-time employees there, which is amazing, and that's quite an achievement for a small business. So I think we want to try and get someone on in the marketing side of things, but it's a year sort of full of change, but in a really exciting way, like a really different way.
I mean, 2023 was a weird year, so I mean,
I remember saying to my friend in 2020 and being like, we're going to look back on this year and we're going to think that it's like the best year ever. It's like every year she gradually just got worse and worse.
Right? Yeah, I mean, for a lot of us, 2023 started off pretty good and, very positive, and then it ended up kind of in the crapper. So, so we're a little cautiously hopeful for 2024.
Yeah, I think everyone's coming into this year very cautious and apprehensive and nervous. And they're not like, I've seen so many posts on Instagram being like, just don't worry about achieving goals in January. Just let January happen.
Right?
Hang on just a second for a quick ad break. Are you feeling the pressure of your finances on top of your work and family obligations? Coach Connor's here to break that struggle. Overcome time constraints and financial overwhelm with personalized guidance. Take charge of your future hassle-free. Connect with Coach Connor at Progress Solutions today and transform your finances. Just see the link in the show notes for how to reach Coach Connor.
So you had said that the specific message that you wanted to people to come away with was to do what you can with what you have. And I love that.
I forgot what I wrote then. I was like, I'm interested to see where this is going.
Yeah. No, I had to look because I was like, I know there was something that was really important to me that I wanted to share. And so I just had to remind myself.
That phrase, I think, and I could be very wrong here, that it was said by Roosevelt. And I remember being at school and it being like on a massive poster on the wall in class. And it's something that has always stuck with me. Like, do what you can with what you have. And I genuinely feel like that can be applied to every single situation in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's like, it's got me out of a lot of trouble. Because I feel like it is exactly that. It's like you can only do what you can with what you have. And you like by doing that, like by doing what you can with what you have, you can progress, you can grow, you can change, and then you get more and you evolve, and then you do what you can with what you have. Then it's like it applies to every stage and like building stages to me. It's like to me, it's such an important quote. It is something that has really stuck with me, and it has like I've been in situations before or in like in conversations or in work and things like that, and I'm stuck or I like feel challenged, and I'm like, okay, what can I do with what I have right now? What can I actually achieve in this moment with the tools, the information, the knowledge, the advice, the tips, the ideas that I have? How can I build on this with what like it's such an important like for me it's such an important quote and so relevant.
Yeah. It's like a grounding. Like what, stop
Yeah.
thinking so far out. Like what can I do right now with what I have?
And like one of the biggest lessons I've learned in the past few months that I've been doing a lot around self-discipline, and it's like you can't have goals if you don't, you can't reach your goals if you don't have a design plan. It's like it's all well and good saying, oh, in 6 months I want to I want to make X amount of money. It's like, in 6 months I want to travel or whatever, like whatever your goals are. It's like it's all well and good saying that. But if you don't have a design plan in order to get you to those goals, but what people make the mistake of is that they'll set their goal to 6 months, for example, and their design plan, but the design plan will be like, okay, what do I need to do now to get to my dream in 6 months? That's never going to work.
Wait, it's not just going to fall in my lap?
No. And so it's like exactly that. It's like when I'm planning my week, I was like, okay, I don't say what do I want what do I want to have achieved by Friday? Like what do I want to achieve today? What do I want to achieve in half a day? It's like it's exactly that. It's like your design plan is like, and exactly that. Do what you can with what you have. It's like what you have now is going to be, if you follow your design plan, is going to be different to what you have in 6 months. Right. What you will have in 6 months, you don't have now.
Right.
So you have to use what you have now in order to get to the next step, and then the next step, use what you have to get to the next step.
Right, and also not put it off. Not put it off. Like
exactly.
Start now. Like don't say in 6 months I want to do this. I'm going to start in 5 months. Like what
you don't want to be. Now. You don't want to in 6 months say, I wish I started this 6 months ago.
Right.
Because you've lost 6 months. And so, and like people do it, like I do it all the time. I'm like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it that way. And it's like, it's okay to do that. It's just not okay to do that all the time. It's like, I'm like, oh, like I have like a 70% rule, whereas if I don't feel 100%, like I used to be in a position, if I wasn't feeling 100%, like to do something, it's like, oh, I don't want to work out. I'm not like feeling 100%. Or I'll wait till I feel 100%. I'll wait till I feel more active or have more energy. I'm never going to work out, ever.
Right.
Like I am not a fitness freak. Like it takes a lot for me to plug up the energy to work out. And it's like, so now I'm like, okay, I'm not feeling 100%, but I'm going to put 70% effort into it, because that's if you put 70% effort into something, you're still putting 100% into it. And it's like I will put on like a 15-minute cardio video because I'm like, oh, that's literally mentally as much as I can do right now, and I end up doing half an hour, 45 minutes because I'm up and I'm doing it and it feels good.
Right.
And so it's like it's exactly that. It's like do what you can, what you have. It's like it's such an important message to me.
Right. Right. And while you're doing it, just give it everything you have.
And I'm not one to preach. Like I am a work in progress.
Of course.
But I've learned that you have to make progress in order to progress. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I love that. You have to progress if you want to progress.
Yeah, I think it was if you had to make progress if you want to progress.
Yeah.
Categories.
I like that a lot. But but also just, give whatever you're doing, everything that you have, and then
Exactly. And you're never, if you keep, like, you're never going to be 100%. Like, you're never going to feel 100% to do something. So it's like, attack it with what you have, and you will always find that you have more than what you
right,
have if you start doing something.
for sure. Yeah.
Like, I have ADHD. It takes a lot for me to focus. And like, I get distracted very easily. But like, once I'm in like a focus, like once I put myself in a focus period, I will be in that focus period for an hour.
Yeah. Awesome.
But it's like, again, it's that design plan. It's like, what am I going to do to put myself into that focus period?
Right. Well, because you made that plan, you're able to stay on that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness. You've given us a lot of information, Hayley. I appreciate that a lot. So when I see the word sustainability, what does that mean to you?
Survival.
Survival?
The survival. And I think I answered that really quickly. I think I've been thinking about that a lot. No, I genuinely think that the only way that we are going to tackle global problems such as climate change and deforestation, wildlife reduction, and basically keep us on this planet is more sustainable options. Like, I'm a vegan. I will preach veganism all day long for health, climate change reasons, all of it. But I'm like, I think sustainability is the better word, because you can like, do things more sustainably. You can live more sustainably. You can reduce waste. You can shop more sustainably. You can, like, for me, it's like the obvious solution to the healthcare system, especially in the UK, is sustainability. It's like, to save the healthcare system, it needs to be more sustainable. And it's like, if we were a more sustainable race and made our planet more sustainable, I think that we will survive. It's survival. We will see a reduction in climate change. We will see a reduction in waste. And to me, it's like, and to most of the public, it's such an obvious solution. But it's like, you have the wrong people in power right now. You've got,
Right.
like, we're seeing, like, and I'm seeing this traveling as well, like, everywhere we go. And since COVID, it's moving to such a right wing, like, a political landscape. It's like the right wing parties are rising up. They're getting elected. It's scary. It's like, and they don't have sustainability on the agenda, because it's profits over planet, it's profits over people. We saw it with COP28 in August. It's like, you're literally at a climate change conference and you're negotiating fossil fuels. It's like, the ignorance and arrogance of it is terrifying. That's what scares me. Because at the end of the day, it's like, if you're not saving the planet and you're driving us all to extinction, you can't take the money with you. It's not going to help you.
Right.
It's like, surely, in order to enjoy and spend and make more money, you want to extend the life of the planet and the life of the people. And you want to, it's like, the more like climate change gets worse, the more ill people will get. The like, smaller the population, right? Which then shortens and shrinks the economy. Like, all of those things, none of those things are going to make you money. They're going to help you lose money. It's like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, there's such an agenda against sustainability and tackling climate change, and it's really difficult to see why sometimes. So yeah, I went off on a rant now. I'm sorry, but for me, sustainability means survival.
It seems so easy to get there, really. I mean, honestly, if you're thinking about, it's easy to get political when it comes to that.
I could, like, do a whole podcast just on this. I'm like, the solutions to me are so obvious and
Right.
so easy and so cost effective.
Yep. Yeah.
But or can be cost effective. It's just, we live in a world, like, we call it the vegan culture war. Is that there's such, like, an anti-vegan agenda at the moment, especially, like, from a PR point of view. And like, Veganuary, I don't know if you guys do it in America, but in January we have Veganuary. it was like no one wanted to talk about it this year, and it was challenging. And it's like, and the issue is that we live in a world where like the sustainability solutions and the vegan solutions that are available to us right now are more expensive.
Mm.
And companies that are being told to use more sustainable plastics, sustainable materials, like they're just not willing to invest or spend the extra money, and smaller businesses can't do it.
Right, right, right.
But
I mean,
so
I think,
like there needs to be,
yeah. I mean, I think that what you were saying before about you can plan whatever, but if you don't have the design, the vision, I can't remember your exact words,
the
but
design
like
plan, yeah.
the design plan, yeah. But so that's what we need. We need someone to come up with this design plan, and then we just need people to say, this is what we're doing. Everyone, not just, in the US, they're like, they're the outside states basically recycle and compost and stuff like that, but there are a lot of the inside states don't. And Florida, I mean, you've been to Florida, they don't do that. But
oh my gosh, I can't even get into like the sustainable problems in Florida. It's like I have been to like the deepest, darkest depths of Europe, and Florida is just like the hardest place to be vegan. Just I cry. I was like the food waste and the waste in general there. Oh my gosh, I was like there for 6 weeks and I was crying. I was like, there needs to be a better way to do this. And I understand it, like at the moment with the wars and the global issues, like it just isn't on the top of the agenda. But it would solve so many problems, not wars, but it would solve it would solve so many generalized issues like the healthcare system. It would boost the healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
It would tackle landfill issues that we're like seeing more and more of. It's just it just needs the government to put up investments, and it's just something they just seem very reluctant to do.
Yeah, we just need everyone to be on the same page, and it's so hard with, like you were saying, the polarization. It's just, it's really hard to get there. So we just have to do the best that we can with what we have.
And I think that's like the sort of the most depressing thing about travel is that it just genuinely like makes you realize that you see like Brazil, for example, is like full of waste, and the carnival's amazing, but the amount of waste after carnival and things like that, and the rubbish, and it's like you look and you're like, I am doing the best that I can as a human, and even I fail in this. But like I'm one person. These are entire nations that just are producing so much waste and so much plastic use and animal use, and it's like you sit there and you're like, nothing I do matters. Like it just feels like that. It's like I'm gonna keep continuing because I want to make a difference, but like realistically, nothing I'm doing is really making that big an impact. I think there's like a Lee Evans joke once, like a British comedian. He was like, "Oh, when the government do those ad campaigns, they tell you to switch your living room light off every night and like make sure that the electrics are off and things like that." And he said, "Then you look at Las Vegas." He's like, I'm not making a difference.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, it totally does feel like that, but we just have to keep at it. I mean, because you're leading by example for one. I mean, hopefully the time that you're in Brazil will rub off on some people and they'll be like, do we really need to do that? Remember those nice people from the UK when they were here and they just, they were just.
I remember those preachy vegans that told us we were doing everything wrong.
They were just so quiet and nice, and they just, can't we be more like them? But
quiet and nice. You've not been traveling with us.
Right. Yeah. But so the one last thing that I remember you had mentioned on your guest form was changing the world. But I think we just nailed that one. Just with the word sustainability. But so if somebody is totally inspired by everything that you're saying, Hayley, and they want to follow your journey and watch your cat pictures and, see what you're up to, how can they follow you?
The most valuable thing there are cats. Um, so we're on Instagram at Hayley and Marcus, and you can. My company's called Be Yellow. The website's beyellow.life, and I don't really use my own personal Instagram anymore. We sort of have a joint one that we update. So that's probably, and that's our travel content. So that's probably the best one.
Okay. And I'll put that in the show notes. But oh my goodness, this has been so fun.
It's been so fun. Thank you so much.
This has been so fun. I've really enjoyed getting to know you. I've loved watching your Instagram, and I love anybody that loves cats for sure. And travel, and I'm so glad to know about like Bosnia. Slovenia has been on my very short bucket list for a long time, but interesting to know about Bosnia.
We hired when we did it the Balkans the first time. We hired a car. I think it was in Croatia, and we did 6 weeks, and we did all of the all of the Balkan countries, apart from Kosovo and North Macedonia. And we managed to do it in 6 weeks, and we spent sort of like a good sort of week and a bit in each country exploring around. It's so easy to do.
Right. Cool.
Just don't do what I did, and then go between the border crossing between Serbia and Bosnia and get the currency wrong, and ended up paying £25 for a can of Coke.
That's
I was so tired, and I got so confused because we were literally at the border, and we got out to buy a drink at the garage, and I got a can of Coke, and I was just like, I was trying to work it out in my wallet, and the guy like obviously just like couldn't believe his luck, so he took like the money, and I was like coming back, and I was like, and it was like going to Mark's, was like, he's just given him like 50 Bosnia, which like I think it was like this was like guessing, but what happened, but the 50 Bosnian is worth a lot more than 50 Serbian. And I got so confused.
You live and learn, man. I mean,
you do. It's a mistake I won't repeat.
It was the border. Oh my goodness. I guess that it happens when you're crossing borders, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for all the information you've shared. I really appreciate that. And I'm so impressed with everything you guys are doing.
Thank you.
I didn't even realize all the stuff that you're doing with your company. I just thought you were going to talk about like traveling the world. But I'm so impressed, and I'm gonna like look into that more because that's very cool. Thank you so much for being here, and folks, make sure to follow Hayley and Marcus on Instagram if you're on Instagram, and check out all their cat pictures and their travel pictures, and you can, if you're listening to the podcast, you can watch us on Instagram on YouTube, and you can get the pre-chat because it started recording before we were really ready. But anyway, thank you so much, Hayley. I really appreciate this.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. I'm really glad that we connected.
I just want to take a moment and thank my guest again for speaking with me and sharing such great information. I also need to thank Buzzsprout for hosting this podcast, for Jane Bolduck and her amazing music genius, for Becca Coffron and her beautiful artwork. And I'd like to thank you for listening. Please check out the show notes. I'm going to have links posted in there if you would like to follow this guest and learn more about them. Thank you again. We'll talk to you soon. I just want to take a moment and thank my guest again for speaking with me and sharing such great information. I also need to thank Buzzsprout for hosting this podcast, for Jane Bolduck and her amazing music genius, for Becca Coffron and her beautiful artwork. And I'd like to thank you for listening. Please check out the show notes. I'm going to have links posted in there if you would like to follow this guest and learn more about them. Thank you again. We'll talk to you soon.